All right, let's dive into Atomic Habits. We're breaking down James Clear's book.
Oh, it's a great one.
Yeah. So, yeah, we're going to help you really understand how to build those better habits that I think we all want.
It's so interesting how Clear's book kind of stands out in this whole self-help world, you
Mm.
know? Like so many of those books promise these huge changes overnight.
Right,
And
yeah.
Clear's like, nah,
It's like a totally different approach.
yeah, it's all about these tiny changes
And, like actually sticking with them.
over time.
It's
Yeah.
way more realistic, right?
Exactly. I think so.
And it's not all just like theory and stuff.
Right.
Clear's own stories woven throughout the whole
Yeah.
book. And it's pretty intense.
Yeah.
He had this really serious accident, like back in high school.
Wow.
A baseball bat to the face
Oh my gosh.
that led to a brain injury and this long recovery.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah. So that experience really shaped how he sees habits
Yeah. Well,
and how they can either like make or break us.
makes sense. Yeah.
It makes you think a lot about, the power of habits.
Right.
He's not just talking the talk,
Right.
like he's been there.
Yeah, he's walked the walk.
And I think that just adds this whole other level to his writing.
Oh, for sure.
It makes you want to listen to what he has to say.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the most basic ideas in the book is this concept of the habit loop.
Yeah, this is like foundational stuff.
So let's break that down.
Okay.
What is this habit loop?
All right, so imagine like a cat stuck in one of those old puzzle boxes.
Okay, I can picture it.
Claire uses this example,
Huh?
and I think it just explains it perfectly.
Yeah.
The cat sees this lever that's like the cue,
Okay.
right? And then it like wants the food that it knows is outside.
Yeah.
That's the craving.
Yeah.
Then it presses the lever, that's the response,
Uh-huh.
and boom, it gets the reward.
Okay, so the more the cat does that, the more it just gets how that works.
Right. It's like a cycle
Yeah.
reinforcing itself.
Oh.
And so then when we apply this to our own lives, it gets really powerful.
So if I want to build a new habit.
You need to understand all four parts of the loop.
Okay.
And then you can kind of figure out how to use that to your advantage.
So manipulate it.
Yeah. And that's where his 4 laws of behavior change come in.
Oh, right.
Remember reading that and just thinking like, wow, it's so simple,
Yeah.
but so smart.
I loved that part of the book.
Make it obvious.
Okay.
Make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying.
So simple.
It is.
I remember he gave all kinds of tips for actually doing that.
Yeah, like tons.
Like, to make it obvious, just leave your workout clothes right by your bed.
Oh, such a good one.
Yeah, just take away the barrier.
Exactly. You're making the cue super obvious.
Yeah, the workout clothes.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and what about attractive? What if I want to start meditating?
Oh, I love that.
It feels like a lot.
Okay, so Clear suggests habit stacking for that.
Habit stacking? What's that?
Okay, you're basically connecting the new habit
Right.
to one you already have.
Uh-huh.
So you could meditate for like 5 minutes right after your morning coffee.
Oh, so you're like piggybacking
Exactly.
on something you already do.
Because coffee's already a habit,
Yeah.
you're kind of tapping into its reward system.
That's so smart.
It is.
Okay, I like that.
Right.
One thing that really stood out to me is this idea that even small changes over time can lead to huge results.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
He talks about British cycling.
Right. Yes, that's a perfect example.
That's where they made all those little changes.
Those 1% improvements.
The coach, Dave Brailsford,
Dave Brailsford, yeah.
he wanted to find the most aerodynamic bike seat.
Oh, wow.
Even like how the riders wash their hands.
Oh, to avoid getting sick.
Yeah, to prevent infections.
So crazy how much that matters.
And they ended up like dominating the Olympics
It's the Olympics. Yeah.
and the Tour de France.
That's amazing.
It makes you think, what if we did that in our own lives?
Right. And Claire says that we can,
Yeah.
it's all about finding those small changes.
And actually doing them.
Yeah, consistently over time.
Okay, so instead of trying to change everything at once,
Right.
just make those tiny changes.
And they build up over time.
That seems so much more doable.
It totally is. Yeah, it really is amazing how small those changes can be, but they make such a big difference over time.
Like a snowball effect almost.
Totally.
And speaking of getting things rolling, I was really fascinated by the 2-minute rule.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
It's like a way to make starting a new habit super easy, right?
Yeah. It's all about getting rid of that initial resistance. Like
Right.
when you think, ugh, I don't want to do this right now.
Oh.
But if you break it down into the smallest possible step, it's like you trick your brain into thinking, oh, this is no big deal.
I remember the example in the book about the reader who lost like over 100 pounds.
Yeah, that's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing. But I was trying to think, like, how else can we use this, like, in everyday life?
Okay, well, let's say you want to write a novel.
Okay.
That can feel so overwhelming.
Oh, yeah.
But what if you just commit to opening your laptop and typing for 2 minutes every day?
So you're saying make that first step
Tiny, yeah.
so small that it's almost silly not to do it?
Exactly.
And then once you start, you'll probably just keep going.
Exactly. That's the idea.
It's like that saying, well, I'm already here.
Right.
I might as well.
You're more likely to keep going once you've started.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But is there a risk of just like staying at that minimal effort?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question.
Like what if those 2 minutes are all I ever do?
Well, that's where the other laws of behavior change come in.
Oh, right.
Remember, we also want to make it attractive and easy and satisfying.
Yeah, okay.
So if you're only writing for 2 minutes and you're bored or you're just not feeling it,
Yeah.
then you need to change something.
So like maybe writing at a different spot.
Yeah, a different location.
Maybe listen to some music.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Or even set a timer and see how much I can get done in 2 minutes.
Yeah, make it a little challenge.
Yeah, okay, I like that.
Right. So the 2 minute rule is really just the beginning.
Like the first hurdle.
It's about getting over that hump, that resistance,
Yeah.
and then you can gradually do more.
Start small and build up.
Exactly.
But what about when we hit a plateau or we just don't feel motivated at all?
Oh, yeah, that happens to everyone.
How do we stay consistent,
Yeah.
even when it's not exciting anymore?
That's a great question, and Clear has a really interesting answer for that.
Okay.
He says that motivation often comes after you take action,
Not before.
not before yet.
So don't wait to feel motivated.
Exactly, just start doing it.
I think he talked about Steve Martin, the comedian.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
And he didn't start out thinking he was funny,
Right, he became a comedic icon by consistently showing up
even when he didn't feel like it.
and performing and honing his craft.
Yeah.
It was through that action that he gained confidence.
And it became really funny.
Yeah, his comedic brilliance emerged.
Wow.
So it's not about waiting for inspiration to strike.
You got to do it.
You just have to take action even when you don't feel like it.
Okay, so how do we do that?
Well, Clear suggests creating a system for staying consistent.
A system. Okay.
Yeah, that could be anything from scheduling your habits.
Oh, like putting it on my calendar.
Yeah.
Literally.
Or using visual cues like a habit tracker.
Or getting an accountability partner
Oh, yeah, someone to check in with you.
to keep me on track.
That can be really helpful.
Okay, I like that. And what about our surroundings?
Our environment.
Yeah, like how our environment can affect our habits.
Oh, yeah. Clear talks about that a lot.
He mentioned those fly stickers in the urinals at the Amsterdam airport
Oh, yeah. Remember that?
to reduce spillage.
Such a clever idea.
It worked.
It did. It totally did.
But what does that have to do with habits?
It shows how even small changes to our environment can influence our behavior.
Oh?
And we can use that in our own lives.
So give me an example.
Like, let's say you want to eat healthier.
Okay.
Make sure your kitchen is full of healthy snacks.
And hide the junk food.
Exactly. Make it harder to reach for the unhealthy stuff.
So it's all about making the good habits easier and the bad habits harder.
Yeah. You can even use this principle to manage distractions.
Okay.
Like, if you're always checking social media,
I do that a lot.
turn off the notifications
Oh, good idea.
or delete the apps altogether.
Wow, cold turkey.
It can be really effective.
Okay, those are some great tips.
Right.
But what about when it comes to like changing how we see ourselves?
Oh, you mean like our beliefs about ourselves?
Yeah, Clear talks about identity-based habits, right?
Yeah, he says that lasting change comes from aligning your habits with who you want to be.
So it's not just about changing what you do.
It's about changing how you see yourself.
So instead of saying, I want to lose weight, I would
Yeah.
say, I am a healthy and active person.
That's a great example.
And then I act like that kind of person.
Yeah, it's about seeing yourself as the kind of person who naturally does those things.
Okay, so it becomes more real.
As you act in alignment with that identity.
This reminds me of that story about Brian Clark.
Oh, yeah, the nail-biting story,
He couldn't stop biting his nails
right?
until he started seeing himself as someone who takes care of himself.
Yeah, he even started getting manicures.
As a symbol of that new identity.
Exactly.
So it's like changing how you see yourself can change your behavior.
Yeah, it can have a ripple effect.
Okay, that's powerful. But how do we figure out that desired identity?
Well, Clear suggests making a list of qualities you want to embody.
Like literally write them down.
Yeah, and then choose habits that support those qualities.
Okay, that's a good exercise.
Right.
But we're not going to be perfect all the time, right?
Of course not. No one is.
So how do we deal with setbacks without getting discouraged?
Well, Clear says that slip-ups are a normal part of the process.
So don't beat yourself up.
Exactly. It's not about being perfect.
It's about getting back on track. As quickly as possible, yeah.
So he recommends having a plan in place.
Like a system for dealing with setbacks.
Okay.
So if you miss a workout or you eat something unhealthy,
You already have a plan.
you don't just give up.
So you're saying view it as a learning experience
Yeah.
and then adjust.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that. And remember, even small improvements add up over time.
Oh, yeah, that's a key point.
Clear talks about the plateau of latent potential.
It's like you're putting in the effort, but you don't see results right away.
Yeah, it's like that saying, the bamboo that bends is stronger than the oak that resists.
Oh, that's good.
Sometimes the biggest growth happens where we can't see it.
Yeah, it's happening beneath the surface.
It's about trusting the process,
And playing the long game.
even when it feels like nothing's happening.
Exactly.
Okay, this is all making a lot of sense.
It's really fascinating stuff.
I'm already starting to think about my own habits
Yeah.
and how I can use this stuff.
That's great. But before we finish this part, I want to hear your thoughts on the Goldilocks rule.
Oh, yeah, that's an interesting one.
I remember that being about finding the right level of challenge,
Yeah, like not too hard, not too soft, but
Yeah.
just right.
like Goldilocks in the porridge.
Exactly. It's all about finding that sweet spot, where things are challenging enough to keep you interested, but not so hard that you just want to give up.
It's true. If something's too easy, you just get bored.
Exactly.
But if it's too hard, it's just like, oof, I can't do this.
Right. Totally overwhelming.
But when it's just right, you get into that flow state
Oh, yeah, that's the best.
where you're just totally focused and time just flies.
And that feeling is so motivating, too.
It is. You want to keep doing it.
It makes you want to come back for more.
Yeah, totally.
But finding that sweet spot can be tricky.
So how do we do it?
Clear suggests setting goals that are just a little bit beyond what you can currently do.
So push yourself a little.
But not so much that you're setting yourself up for failure.
It's like walking that line. It reminds me of that story about Steve Martin.
Oh, yeah, good one.
He didn't start out as this comedic genius, right?
Right. It was through practice and pushing himself
Little by little.
that he developed his style.
That's inspiring.
It is.
It makes you realize you don't have to be perfect right away.
Yeah, just focus on improving a little bit each time.
And trust the process.
Exactly.
So those small improvements will lead to bigger things later.
And it's important to remember that the Goldilocks zone isn't going to stay the same.
Oh, right.
It changes as you grow.
So we need to be flexible.
Yeah, and be willing to adjust your goals and strategies.
What was hard a few months ago might be easy now.
Exactly. That's a sign you need to level up
So it's about always challenging ourselves a bit.
and staying just outside your comfort zone.
Yeah. Okay, so how does this tie back to the identity-based habits we were talking about?
Oh, it's all connected.
Okay.
As you challenge yourself and achieve those small wins,
Yeah.
it reinforces your belief that you can change and grow.
You start to see yourself as someone who can do it.
And that makes you more likely to choose habits that support that new identity.
It's like a positive feedback loop.
It is a self-fulfilling prophecy almost.
But let's be real.
Yeah,
We're not perfect.
no one is.
We're going to slip up sometimes.
Clear talks about that too.
Yeah.
He says it's important to have a plan for dealing with setbacks.
So like when I miss a workout or I eat something, I shouldn't.
Yeah, you don't just give up.
I have a plan.
You get back on track
So it's about being kind to yourself.
and learning from those mistakes.
This whole conversation has been so insightful.
It's great stuff, isn't it?
I'm really inspired to look at my own habits now
That's awesome.
and see how I can use these principles.
Yeah, that's the goal.
What's one big takeaway you think our listeners should remember?
I think it's the power of those small changes.
Yeah.
When you do them consistently over time, they can really make a huge difference.
Clear calls it the power of atomic habits.
It's those tiny actions that add up to big results.
It's like a message of hope.
Yeah, it's really
It
empowering.
means we don't have to do these huge, drastic changes.
Just start small
Focus on those little improvements.
and trust the process.
It's so true.
It is.
And remember, like James Clear says, success is the product of daily habits, not once-in-a-lifetime transformations.
Such a great quote.
So let's all go out there and build those atomic habits one small step at a time.
I love it.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into atomic habits.